Welcome back to Una's Sanity Corner. 10 minutes, 10 minutes with me to set you up for the week with your sanity intact. And today we're talking about motivation, how to bring your children to do things. And did you know that actually 80% of our conversations with children are apparently, or maybe you're not surprised, are about getting them to do things. And so that means that we're spending 80% of our time when we're talking to our children, possibly nagging, and the last thing I'm sure you want to be doing is nagging. I mean, who wants to nag? I mean, by the time you said something more than once, you kind of definitely don't want to be saying it a third time, right? Um, so so where I see the problem with this is that we don't, the way that we have been motivated to do things was all about extrinsic motivation. So that is using outer things, external things, to get us to do the task in hand, whatever it is. And so those are things like rewards, promises, rewards for when you've done it, and possibly also punishments, consequences if you don't do it. So those are the kind of rather limited tools that we have when we're trying to get our children to do things like, whether it's you want to get your toddler to brush their teeth, or whether you want to get, or bring, I prefer actually to say bring rather than get your child to do something, bring them to do something, or whether you want to bring your children to do their homeschooling work. So where was I going with that? What else can we do that isn't about extrinsic motivation? How can we help them actually connect with the task in hand? Because when they connect with the task in hand, it just gets so much easier. And we're not doing all the pushing and the trying to get them to do things. It flows because they want to do it. That's the aim anyway. So how can we achieve this? Well, I've got 9 tips for you today, and they will all help. So listen out for what feels like your next best step. So the first one is this. It's very simply invite them to the task with an upbeat tone. So with a nice invitation. It's the difference between, so I'm afraid we have to go and get our schoolwork done now, to should we get ready for our school? Or, I'm sorry, but it's time for toothbrushing. And instead, you can make it interesting. So let's walk backwards to the bathroom. And that makes all the difference if you bring it in an upbeat way. Otherwise, children can often hear in us the dread of what's to come. And let's be honest, sometimes we are dreading it, but it can become a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. So if we can catch ourselves, and sometimes a visualization, so the night before or something, can really help, where you see it going really well and you and your children, you and your child having a nice time together, that can really help to set the mood, so you can kind of, when the time comes, just step into it and be quite upbeat and encouraging. The second thing is that resistance is bound to come up, because we've got an idea, maybe your child's got another idea about what the next 10 minutes is going to involve. So instead of trying to talk them out of it or convince them, acknowledge what they don't want to do. It's just as simple as that. Aha, I see, you're telling me that you'd rather not go and brush your teeth right now. Or perhaps you hoped that school time was going to be a little bit later today, or something like that. So just to acknowledge wherever they're coming from, and that just helps them feel, mum gets me, dad understands, and it lowers the resistance. Whatever resistance was there, it lowers it. So I'm looking down because I have got my notes here. So that I share all these 9 tips. So the third one is actually huge, and kind of, there are no limits to what you can do with this. It's about connecting with whatever interests them, because as I said before, often what we have in mind isn't kind of dreadfully interesting from the child's point of view. So what can really help is if we can connect that thing. Oh, lovely to see a few people watching. Do say hi, and I may be able to pick up in the comments so that I know you're there. So we can connect it with what they're interested in. So I'll just give you an example. I mean, this is maybe an example that's not so relatable in the sense that, you know, you can go off and do this. But my son spent his whole weekend working on a project which is all about using wastewater to create electricity. So he's 16. But he worked on that the whole weekend because he's interested in it. And when our passions are kind of ignited, we are super motivated. So how can we connect children's passions and interests with, you know, the simple tasks of daily life? Well, as I say, there are a few limits to this. There's lots you can do, but I'll just give you a couple of ideas. First of all, you can say, you know, let's walk. You can walk to wherever you need to be, in like their favorite character or like their favorite animal, or you can talk like their favorite animal, or you can bring a soft toy in to direct events if they love their soft toy, and have the soft toy, you know, explaining what the next step is, so that you connect it with what's important for them. So it's not just our, you know, abstract to them agenda. Okay, so that's that. Where were we now? Then there's having things ready. And do tell me if what should I say, the what you're seeing is very pixelated or not, because it shouldn't be too pixelated, because I've got all the same kit, but it seems to be now that the videos that I'm doing seem to be more pixelated. So do let me know, because I think next week I'm going to try and get my Ethernet cable plugged in properly. I need my son for that, and he's busy right now. But yeah, do let me know if it's pixelated or if you can see me clearly. So having things ready. That's really important. I'm going to give you a lovely example of this. When I ran toddler groups, I had installed in the downstairs, I ran them in my home, and I installed in the downstairs toilet a little toddler sink at toddler height. And the toddlers loved coming there to wash their hands, because it was as if the space, well, not as if, the space was really ready for them. Now, I'm not suggesting that you install sinks at appropriate heights for all your children, not at all. But there are little things that you can do to prepare the space often that make it more inviting. So for a toddler, say toddler toothbrushing time, that can often be an area of conflict. You can put out a little table if you have room. You can even be in child's bedroom, why not? And where you've got, but preferably in the bathroom probably, where you've got a little mirror, a bowl, toothbrush, toothpaste at their height. And that makes them feel like this is a place for them to be. Or if it's about schoolwork, laying out the pencils in a nice way, having them all sharpened and ready, having all the rubbers and sharp, you know, all those things that they need ready there, so that the work can flow once they do sit down, and it invites them. I mean, even when I'm doing my Facebook lives, you know, I get everything ready so that it all looks nice. Or where, even if I'm preparing content, you know, where you can't actually see me, you know, doing it, I make the space nice, so it kind of uplifts me. It helps me feel supported as I do it. And that's the same for children. It really helps, and it helps the task to flow. So having things ready. Then this fifth one is a mindset one for you. If your child is saying, I won't do it, it actually means they can't. Even if you think they can do it, it means that in that moment, they feel like they can't. It may be that there's a difficult feeling in the way. It may be that it just all feels overwhelming. And I know that when I feel overwhelmed by things, you know, if I kind of think about all the things I could do in my business to help more people, I can get very overwhelmed. But if I think, right, today the most important thing is to be of service, is to do this Facebook Live about motivating children, and I focus on that, and that helps me. But so if your child is saying they can't, oh, if they're saying they won't, just knowing that it's not an affront to you, it's not an insult, it's not saying I don't want to cooperate with you. It's not, it's just that they may feel overwhelmed, or maybe the toothbrushing yesterday tickled or hurt, or maybe yesterday, the schoolwork went on so long they just can't face it, or they're feeling tired after the weekend. Okay, so that's number 5. And number 6 is make the steps small. So that kind of follows on. Make the steps small and accompany your children. Often things that we want them to do that seem quite simple to us can seem really big, like big mountains for children. So if we make the steps small and accompany them, it's almost as if we were to say to ourselves, if the child in front of me were younger, what would I do? And probably that's what you would do. You'd break it down and you'd stay with them more. We often have expectations of children that are kind of beyond their age and stage. And if we just kind of break down the task into smaller chunks and stay with them and accompany them through it, we'll find that they can do it, almost like treating them as if they were slightly younger. And you may think, well, they're 10, they should be able to do this by themselves. But if they can't, that's your option, is to imagine they were younger, and then they will be able to by you showing them and supporting them and helping them. So that's number 6. And then number 7 is take breaks and allow playfulness. So just pushing through isn't always the most helpful way to bring children to do tasks. It can be really helpful and lighten the mood and make it more palatable for children if we allow playfulness in, if we allow breaks in. And we adults, we tend to get very serious about things, and this needs to be done, and then this needs to be done, this needs to be done. But children are children, and all those serious adult things often don't allow them, or if they're kind of too concentrated, don't allow children to be themselves. And when they play, children feel like they are themselves. That's their natural element. So by feathering in a little bit of play, or if they bring in a little bit of playfulness, responding to it, that can really help with motivation, allowing breaks. And number 8, make your relationship with your child more important than getting those things done. Now, this may seem a bit curious. I mean, it often feels to us like these things, like the phonics and the maths and the toothbrushing, are really important because we don't want them to have decayed teeth. We want them to get through the phonics and not, fall behind and all those things. However, we are our children's greatest role model, and the main thing that I believe we're teaching them is how to live a life. And in my view, it's not very helpful if we teach them, that life is about pressure, getting things right, pleasing other people, following rules, to an extreme. There's an element of that, of course. But if we make that the most important thing, then we teach our children that these are the things that are important. Whereas if we focus on our relationship with them, then they learn that the relationship to other people, to themselves, and to the task is the most important thing, which I believe it is. Because if we have a good relationship with ourselves, if we have a healthy relationship with the task that we want to do, and we're able to relate healthily to other people as well, then we've got the foundations for a healthy, happy, successful life. So So that's number 8, and I think I believe it's really, really important. And number 9, I've snuck it in there because it isn't strictly self-care. Well, I've given it away now. It isn't strictly about motivating, but it is really important. It is about taking care of ourselves, because if we want to motivate our children and come in with a spark and allow playfulness, and be understanding about the won'ts and not take it personally, all the things that I've mentioned, right? We need to be looking after ourselves, because we can't pour from an empty cup, and we can't remind ourselves of this, more, too much. And whatever it is for you, whatever baby step you could take towards slightly more self-care, whether it's going to bed a little bit earlier, or going for a run, or just stepping out into the garden. I've taken to just stepping out of my front door in the morning, even though I don't need to go anywhere, just looking at the birds in the front garden and just breathing in the air, feeling what kind of day it is, listening to the birds twittering in the trees around, and just grounding myself, just feeling and appreciating the day that we have, even if it's not a very special one. Okay, so whatever it is for you, sitting down with a little cup of tea, putting your feet up, do it. Right? Do it. It makes a difference, and it helps us show up differently for our children. So those were the 9 tips, and I'm going to just summarize them for you, and I'd like you to listen out and see which one feels like it's the right step for you, because I don't want you to get overwhelmed and feel you have to implement all of these things. But listen out for which one feels like your next step. And the magic thing is that if you just choose one, you may find the others kind of come along in the wake. That's the way it works. So just focus on one. So the first one is be upbeat about introducing whatever you want to bring your child to do. Second is acknowledge their resistance. If they resist, just go with it, empathize. Then the third is connect with their interests. Somehow connect whatever you're asking them to do with what they're interested in. Have things ready is number 4. Understand that if they're saying they won't do it, it means they can't in some way. Make the steps small and accompany them. That's step number 6. So almost like treating your child as if they were a wee bit younger than they are if they're resisting. Allow breaks and allow playfulness, number 7. Number 8, make your relationship with your child more important than getting any particular task done. And number 9, last but very much not least, your self-care. So those were the 3. Choose one and bring that into this week, see how that goes. And if you like what you've heard today and you'd like to learn more, you're very welcome, and I really recommend downloading my free guide, Solve the Struggle with Your Kids, which is available on unaalexander.co.uk/solve the struggle. That will give you more details on how to have a smooth and easier and happier family life. And if you've already downloaded it, then just heart and share this video. That will also help more people get more information about kinder to ourselves, kinder to our children, ways of creating a happy, smooth family life for everyone. So lots of love to you. Bye.